For more than a century, cars have been symbols of power, status, and freedom. Since Henry Ford popularized mass production with the legendary Model T, the automotive industry has followed a seemingly unchanging path. Combustion engines, gasoline as the dominant fuel, and a culture revolving around speed, the roar of engines and smoke billowing from exhaust pipes. The big automakers, General Motors, Ford, Volkswagen, Toyota, Mercedes-Benz, built billion-dollar empires on this model. They dictated trends, controlled markets, and in many cases even influenced governments. The car was not just a means of transportation, it was a cultural symbol. The sound of the engine was associated with excitement, power, masculinity. Gasoline was seen as the lifeblood of the modern world. But there was an uncomfortable detail hidden in this narrative. The planet was beginning to show signs of exhaustion, growing pollution, oil crises, climate change. Yet the industry seemed deaf. Why? Because change meant losing billions in investments already made, abandoning entire factories, distribution networks, and a consolidated culture. It was easier to continue selling combustion cars than to risk the future on uncertain technology. And it's not that no one had tried. In the 1990s, General Motors launched the EV1, an experimental electric car. But the project was shelved, the vehicles collected and destroyed. The message was clear. The world was not ready for electric cars, or perhaps automakers were not ready to give up their profits. So, the question that hung in the air was, would anyone have the courage to challenge this system? Could a small company with no tradition take on giants that had dominated the market for over 100 years? The answer seemed obvious. No, but history was about to prove otherwise. 2003. The world still believed that electric cars were a joke. Small, slow, with limited range, too expensive to be taken seriously. Traditional automakers had already tested this idea and given up. The verdict seemed definitive. The future would be powered by gasoline, but behind the scenes, a group of engineers and entrepreneurs dared to think differently. They founded a small company called Tesla Motors. The name a tribute to the forgotten genius Nikola Tesla. Already carried powerful symbolism, challenging the status quo, rescuing visionary ideas, and turning them into reality. At first, no one paid any attention. After all, who were they compared to giants like Ford, Toyota, or Volkswagen? Just dreamers trying to reinvent the wheel. But there was something different about this startup. Tesla didn't just want to create an electric car, it wanted to create a car that people wanted. A car that didn't apologize for being electric, but was proud of it. A car that showed the world that technology could be sexy, fast, and futuristic. This ambition seemed absurd, until Elon Musk entered the story. Musk, already known for his boldness at PayPal and his space plans with SpaceX, saw a unique opportunity in Tesla to prove that the impossible could become inevitable. He invested millions, took risks, and became the face of the company. Many called him crazy. Others called him a visionary, but everyone agreed on one thing. He wasn't afraid to challenge giants. Tesla's first major product was the Roadster, launched in 2008, a fully electric sports car, capable of accelerating from 0 to 60 miles per hour in less than 4 seconds. Suddenly, the world realized it was facing something unprecedented. It wasn't a fragile, limited, or boring electric car. It was a car that competed with Ferraris and Porsches in performance. The impossible had been broken. But the Roadster wasn't just a car. It was a statement, a clear message to the industry. We can do better, and you're not ready for what's coming next. That message echoed like thunder in the corridors of traditional automakers. For the first time, they felt a chill. What if these newcomers really managed to change everything? Tesla's birth was marked by doubts, debts, and criticism. Many believed the company would not survive. But at the same time, there was an aura of mystery surrounding it. Who were these daredevils who believed they could reinvent the car? And how far were they willing to go to prove they were right? 2012. The world still viewed Tesla as a curiosity, a bold startup that had launched an electric sports car but was unlikely to survive in a market dominated by century-old giants. But then the Model S arrived, and with it the narrative changed completely. The Model S wasn't just an electric car, it was a futuristic experience. Imagine getting into a vehicle and, instead of traditional buttons and dials, finding a giant tablet-like screen controlling just about everything. Imagine receiving software updates that transformed the car even after purchase, as if it were a smartphone on wheels. This was something no traditional automaker had even considered. But it wasn't just technology. The Model S was fast, elegant, and luxurious. Impressive acceleration range that exceeded all expectations for an electric car. Design that competed with premium sedans from Mercedes and BMW for the first time. Consumers looked at an electric car and thought, I want that. Desire had been awakened, and that desire was dangerous for the traditional industry. Specialized magazines began to surrender. The Model S won Car of the Year awards, was praised by critics, and won over passionate fans. Suddenly, Tesla was no longer an eccentric startup, it was a real threat. And what was most frightening for traditional automakers, it was winning over customers who had previously bought their luxury cars. The impact was immediate. Executives from major automakers began meeting behind closed doors, trying to understand what had happened. How had such a small company managed to create such an advanced car? How had they, with decades of experience and billions in resources, been surpassed by newcomers? The answer was uncomfortable. They were stuck in the past while Tesla was born in the future. The Model S not only proved that electric cars could be viable, it proved that they could be desirable, competitive, and superior. And it quietly planted fear in the corridors of the automotive giants. Because if Tesla could do this with a single model, what else could it do? The world was beginning to realize that this was not a passing fad, it was a revolution. And the Model S was just the beginning. At first, the big automakers laughed. To them, Tesla was just an eccentric startup, a curious experiment that posed no real threat. After all, how could a company with no tradition, no giant factories, and no decades of experience compete with giants that produced millions of cars a year? The thinking was simple. Tesla would fail. All they had to do was wait. But time passed, and Tesla did not fail. On the contrary, it grew. The Roadster had shown that electric cars could be fast. The Model S proved that they could be luxurious and desirable. And suddenly, consumers began to look at traditional cars with new eyes. Were they becoming outdated? Was the future already happening before their eyes? In the corridors of traditional automakers, the mood changed. Secret meetings began to take place. Executives discussed in a concerned tone. What if we're wrong? What if electric cars really are the future? Fear began to spread. Because, for the first time in decades, they weren't the leaders of innovation, they were followers. The initial reaction was defensive. Some companies tried to ridicule Tesla, saying that its cars were too expensive, that they lacked scale, that they were impractical. Others bet on advertising campaigns to reinforce the idea that combustion engines were still superior. But none of that worked. With each new Tesla launch, the narrative changed further. Then came the imitation phase. Automakers announced electric car projects, often rushed, just to show the market that they weren't standing still. BMW launched the i3, Nissan bet on the Leaf. Chevrolet introduced the Bolt. But there was a problem. None of them had the same cultural impact as Tesla. None of them aroused the same desire. They were electric cars, yes, but they weren't symbols of the future. The pressure was mounting. Governments began discussing laws to reduce emissions. Consumers demanded more sustainability. Investors demanded innovation. And at the center of it all was Tesla, setting the pace. The industry giants, who had previously ignored it, were now desperately racing to keep up. The giants' reaction was marked by fear, resistance, and finally, acceptance. They realized they could no longer fight the tide. The future was changing, and Tesla had pulled the trigger. The question echoing in boardrooms was simple and frightening. Is there still time to regain lost ground? Tesla didn't just launch cars, it launched an idea. An idea so powerful that it forced the entire industry to take action. And the most curious thing is that it wasn't because automakers wanted to, it was because they had no choice. The success of the Model S and then the Model 3 showed that there was a real demand for electric vehicles. Consumers were willing to pay for innovation, range, and technology. And suddenly, traditional automakers realized they were behind. Way behind. What once seemed like a passing fad had now become a race for survival. Tesla forced the industry to invest billions in battery research. Companies that had previously ignored the issue began to create entire departments dedicated to electrification. Laboratories sprang up, partnerships were formed, and the search for more efficient batteries became a priority. Because without it, there would be no way to compete. But it wasn't just about batteries. Tesla showed that software was just as important as hardware. Remote updates, autopilot systems, app integration. All of this redefined what it meant to have a modern car. Traditional automakers, accustomed to selling vehicles that remained the same from the day of purchase until the end of their useful life, had to completely rethink their logic. Now, consumers expected their cars to evolve over time. And there was another detail: infrastructure. Gas stations were everywhere, but where could you charge an electric car? Tesla didn't wait for governments to solve the problem. It created its own network of superchargers, spreading charging stations around the world. This forced governments and competitors to accelerate similar projects. The future couldn't depend solely on Tesla, but it was Tesla that took the first step. The pressure was immense. Regulators began to impose emission reduction targets. Investors demanded innovation. Consumers demanded sustainability. And in the midst of this turmoil, traditional automakers found themselves cornered. They could no longer ignore it. They could no longer ridicule it. They needed to change, and change fast. Suddenly, the tables had turned. What was once a complacent industry had now become a technological battlefield. Whoever dominated batteries, software, and infrastructure would have the advantage. Whoever remained stuck in the past would be swallowed up. And all because a small, discredited company dared to challenge the giants. Tesla didn't just create electric cars. It redefined the rules, and it forced everyone else to play a new game. Tesla had achieved the unthinkable, forcing century-old giants to change. But the question that hung in the air was even more intriguing. Would it be able to maintain its throne? Or had it merely paved the way for others, more powerful and experienced, to dominate the future? The current scenario is a real race against time. Traditional automakers, once complacent, are now announcing ambitious electrification plans. Volkswagen promises dozens of electric models by 2030. Ford is investing billions in new battery factories. Mercedes and BMW are racing to transform their luxury cars into symbols of sustainability. Suddenly, everyone is speaking the same language. The future is electric. But it was Tesla that dictated this language. And here lies the mystery. Does Tesla have the stamina to take on giants that produce millions of cars a year? After all, it is still small compared to the colossal factories of Toyota or General Motors. Its advantage lies in innovation, agility, and the ability to surprise. But will that be enough when everyone is playing the same game? The future at stake is not just about cars, it's about technology. Whoever masters more efficient batteries will have the advantage. Whoever manages to create safe and reliable autonomous driving systems will be able to redefine transportation. Whoever builds the largest charging network will have the power to shape consumer habits. And in this field, Tesla still leads, but it is not alone. Chinese companies such as BYD and NIO are growing rapidly, supported by governments that are investing heavily in electrification. European automakers are reinventing themselves, betting on design and tradition combined with technology. In the United States, historic competitors such as Ford and GM have finally woken up. The board is full of pieces, and every move can change the game. But there is something that keeps Tesla in the spotlight: its aura of pioneering. For many consumers, buying a Tesla is not just about acquiring a car. It is about participating in a revolution. It is about being part of a story that defies the impossible. This narrative is powerful and may be the key to maintaining its leadership. Still, the suspense remains. Will Tesla continue to set trends? Or will it, like so many pioneers in history, be remembered only as the company that paved the way for others to dominate? The future is up for grabs, and no one knows for sure who will win. What we do know is that Tesla has already left its mark. It didn't just create electric cars, it redefined what it means to be an automaker. And even if it loses its throne one day, its legacy will be eternal. It was Tesla that showed the world that the impossible could become inevitable. What began as an unlikely gamble turned into an inevitable revolution. Tesla didn't just create electric cars. It forced the world to rethink what mobility, technology, and the future mean. But above all, it showed that a bold idea can challenge giants and change history. Today, every time you see an automaker announce electrification plans, remember, it didn't happen by chance. It was the result of invisible pressure, silent fear, a desperate race not to be left behind. And it all started with a company that many believed would fail. But here's the most intriguing detail. This story isn't over yet. The future is up for grabs. Tesla paved the way, but now faces powerful competitors, governments that dictate rules, and increasingly demanding consumers. Will it continue to lead? Or will it be remembered only as the pioneer that showed the way? The suspense remains, because the future of mobility isn't just about cars. It's about energy, technology, artificial intelligence, sustainability. It's about how we live, how we move around, how we connect. And on this complex chessboard, every move can change everything. Tesla has already made its mark, but the next chapter in this story is still being written. And perhaps, in a few years, we will look back and realize that what we are experiencing now is not the end of the revolution. It is only the beginning. Imagine 10 years from now, quiet streets, self-driving cars, pollution-free cities. Imagine a world where gasoline is just a distant memory, and electricity powers not only cars, but dreams. Does that future seem far away? Maybe. But remember, 20 years ago, no one believed that a small startup could challenge giants, and yet, here we are. Tesla didn't just change the automotive industry, it made us believe that the impossible can become inevitable. And that's the real revolution. If this story surprised you, subscribe to the channel, leave your comment, and share this video, because the next chapter of this revolution, you won't want to miss it.